Hi folks, welcome to my Bit Retro Journal. As you can see, I've got a stack of floppy disks in front of me, and I've actually been going through this to try to recover what's on here so that I could reuse these for my Amiga, because I don't really have a need anymore for using them for my Windows machines or even old Mac disks. But as I was going through these, it turns out that, one thing that I kind of forgotten is that I use the QL a lot, and this is a collection of, or I've been using the QL a lot in the last couple of years, and this is a collection of old cartridges, and I was trying to recover them. Kind of brought back memories of cartridge failures and having to recover information off of them, and then thinking like, oh, if I only had, if only the QL was floppy based, even though I do like the microdrives and the micro cartridges, it would be so much better because you wouldn't have these problems. And of course, grass is always greener because a lot of these disks are bad and they've just been stored in a cool place. And so what I wanted to do today is just to show you how similar the processes are for getting the stuff back. So on the Windows side, I'm going to try to recover. Actually, I've been trying to recover some files. I've been mostly successful, but it's also been very odd in that sometimes this can read the directory, sometimes it thinks the disk is not formatted. I did find one tool that didn't care about that, and I was able to go through and find, even if the fat table was bad, I was able to go through and find it. And the tool I have on the QL is called MDVEdit, and it does the same. Or I don't know if actually it's called MDVEdit. It's called OP something. We'll see when I use it. And I've used that to do something similar, where you just kind of go sector by sector, even if the main table is busted, the file allocation table, that you can go sector by sector and sort of grab things and save them onto like a good microdrive, or in my case the V drive. And so I find it's interesting that similar, different technologies obviously, but similar tools, and because they do sort of do the same thing. They save things in tracks, in sectors. I think this has 512 byte sectors, 256 of them max. I don't know how much this has. Obviously, this is a 1.4 megabyte disk, but the point is. The mechanism is the same, even though this is a digital tape, and this is not audio, this is done digitally, and so is this. The fact that the medium here circles all the way through, whereas here it's a platter where the disk head spins. The mechanism, or how they store this information on there is very similar, and you'll see that the tool that I use here has sort of the same flavor. Now, I couldn't really find a good, I'm running a Windows machine. It would have been better doing this under DOS and maybe getting an old school tool that probably has the same flavors on the QL. But you can see that still you're kind of going, trying to recover it sector by sector. And again, on the Windows side, you'll see that it's kind of more graphical interface that kind of gets in the way. But still, the same idea of having the frustration of not being able to get to your information, trying to recover it, and then being able to kind of look sector by sector. The tool that ended up working on best on the Windows machine was called BadCopy Pro, which is actually professional software. And the one thing it doesn't let you do unless you pay for it is it doesn't let you save it, so you can only look at it. But yeah, so let me show you the stuff on the Windows machine first, and then I'll show you how I do it on the QL. So let's do that. I used, just tried to get a directory listing on A, and you can see it just doesn't even know about it. So if I use check disk on my command line, you can hear the disk spin, and it says type is FAT, but it can't find it. So yeah, so the disk is kind of screwed. And when that's the case, a program like File Scavenger, which is by QTech, or Disk Recovery, just won't work. So I did find another program that will work. Let me close these out and open up Disk Copy. So this is a program that actually can recover when it can't see the disk at all. And in fact, I ran through this once before, and then afterwards, I was able to then see the disk, even though it wasn't able to it saw many of the files, but some were I couldn't really look at. When I stopped it and I pushed it back in, all of a sudden it appeared on my computer. And so I was actually able to copy most of it. So I got most of it back. So that's weird. Maybe it just, it was misaligned or, but I've done it a few times and it hasn't caused that to happen again. But so there's two that I couldn't recover. One under images was this one. But I was able to on a laptop with a Toshiba floppy, external USB floppy, I was able to partially open the picture up and I saw the top of it and I could actually, I found that I had a good version of that picture. And then under slides, there was this one right here is the one that's, I was able to copy it over, but it would basically fail. And then when you said retry or cancel, it would delete that. So the trick I used is when it had it copied and I couldn't access it, I actually I turned the power off from my computer and turned it back on. And that allowed this to sort of, the copy to stay around. It was having file access issues and the program that, Windows trying to copy it, because it was had an error in it, it would actually delete it right away. And so this is one way I could hold on to it. And I couldn't access it while Windows was in the middle of copying it. And so even the DOS prompt was copying it, had the same issue, sort of write permissions, and it would literally remove it. So if it shut the machine down at that stage, it actually kept it. And I was able to find online sites where it could actually recover this corrupt PowerPoint. And I did find some stuff at the beginning, although it costs money to recover the whole thing. I haven't found a free version of it yet. In any case, so I have been successful partially because of this program, but I don't know what it did. So because it after it went through the whole thing, all of a sudden the disk started working, but that only happened the first time. So, but this program is the one that's most like what I'm going to show you in the QL, although it gives you more of a file hierarchy. There is these two modes. I'm going to use lost mode 1, and that gives you sort of a directory structure. And so then I want to scan the disk. So here we go. And this is going to take a little bit of time. So I'm going to fast forward over it. There's about 2,800 sectors it has to go through. And it's going to stream through when they're good, but once they're bad, it's going to hit the disk multiple times. So this is going to take a little bit. It's like take about 5 minutes or so. And it finished. So you can see that it sort of recreated the file tree. And we have, going to the images, so set 6. So it does have this image. And if I select it, I can preview it. And I do see the top of the image. There we go. So this is so it does show part of the bottom and it's kind of screwed up. But from there, I was able to sort of figure out what image it was. And then the other one is under slides, was this one. This one right here. And if I preview it, so here I can get a hex dump with text. And this is actually the format that the QL software gives you, exactly this format right here, block by block, except it has you step through this. Here, it just gives you the entire file. You don't have to construct it, so that's nice. It has a text viewer and image viewer, which don't work, obviously. And again, for the image one, if I were to use the image and use the hex, it doesn't give it to you in hex then, just interesting. Okay. And then if you hit recover, it'll tell you that you need to pay. So it won't. Otherwise, you would select all the files that were recovered and you would copy it to a place that you wanted to have the recovery one. So that's sort of similar to how the QL does it block by block, though. So sector by sector, I should say. So anyway, so that's an interesting one. Now, I'm sure there's other ones. These are the ones that when I searched online, I haven't done much floppy disk recovery. And I bet back in the DOS days, they were more common and prevalent. But yeah, so I found this tool useful, and I could probably search enough to find a free version that does sort of this. And if you know, in the comments below, what exists out there that's as good as this. Just haven't done much with the floppies. Again, I kind of thought floppies were sort of much more resilient, but actually having a whole bunch of them now that are bad, just because I was trying to remove the data to use them for my Amiga. Turns out that they do go as bad as the microdrives and the QL. So let's go to the QL and see how that works. So I have an MDV that won't read, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my sector editor to see if I can't recover some of that. And MDV edit, I think it's called OPDEdit actually. I'm not sure what OPD stands for, but we will give it a try and see what we get. And I'll probably have to adjust the contrast on this because yeah, here we go. So I'm going to start up this executable. All right, so MDV2 is what I want, so I'm going to hit that. And we'll start with sector 0. And it's going to read sector 0. So what it does is it, right, so file 80 and then block. So each block is the block for each file, but each block is a sector as well. So you'll have blocks and sectors. So if I hit Control down, that should actually give me the next. If I just, if I hit Control down here, it just goes through the particular sector, which is I believe 512 bytes. And if I hit Control down, that should hit the next sector for that file, which may not be sector 01. Yeah, so here I had trouble reading that. So what happens when it has trouble reading it, it did go to a different sector, but it didn't update that sector. So let me try to get the next sector to see if it can successfully do that. Nope, but now it's on block 2. So let me, if you hit the right arrow and Control, it actually goes to the next file. And it will update the sector if it finds the next file. Yep, so this one is definitely, so it's sector 1. And I think the particular program is a basic program. If I go, yep, so here it is. So, yep, and it's able to see that. So you can see the name of the program is Minds QL Bash. It has some other information, and then here's where the first, and it's just going to go for block 1. So if I hit the next block, it should be a continuation of that program. So let's see if that's the case. It should be able to see that. So I'm going to hit Control down for the next block in that. Hopefully you can see it. Yep, D3. And there it is. So you can see that block 1 is sector D3. So it'll jump around sector to sector. And that's the next part of this program, which is pretty lengthy. So I would be able to recover this particular program. So one way to do this is I can say Control F1 and then I can give it the device name. So MDV6 recover. And I could hit return, and then if I hit F1, so let me go back to block 1. So that's Control up. Hopefully that'll work. And I could hit F1 to save, and now it's saving. And I could hit, it's still saving. The red light on my SV drive is on. So now I'm going to again do Control. So the down arrow means next block. I think the right arrow means next file. So I'm going to go Control down, and that is the next file. I'm going to hit F1 again to save, and that's going to hopefully save it. It's pretty fast. I'm going to hit Control down again, and now it's, yep, and I'm going to hit F1. I'm going to do Control F1 just to make sure it's still the same file. Control down to get the next one, and yep, it's still the same. So I should be able to save that. Control down to get the next block. Save. And so here you can start recovering a file. When do I know I'm at the end? That's a good question. But now I'm basically going through. So here, you know, this particular MDV is only partially bad. Now it's trying to find the next block. So this might be a bad block. Yeah, so that was a bad block. And you can see that this time there's junk. And not basic. So if I can go back to the previous one. Yeah, so that was yeah, and it's obviously in the middle of oh, so then it has some junk in here. Oh no, maybe it was the end of the program. 925, yeah, this, so maybe it hit the end of the program, because these are, I don't know how big the program was, but so maybe that's why. Okay, so let's see if I was able to recover that file. I'm going to escape out. And again, before I do that, if I want to get to the next file, I could just hit the right arrow. And now it's, yeah, that's another basic program, and then another one. So you can see that you can just kind of go through the various files on here. This is another one. See, do I have a short? Yeah, so this is a very short program. So I'm going to change Control F1, recover 2. I'm going to recover this F1, and I'm going to go Control next. Oh, oh, it's still saving. That's why. Okay, now I can control down, and that should hit the next one. Yep. And save that, and go control down. So this works. I mean, again, when it finds a bad sector, it gets kind of confused. So here again, but perhaps I've already saved it. So let me do that. I've looked for two things. And I'm going to escape out of this, and I'm going to escape out of that, and I'm going to escape out of that. Yeah, I'm going to find, should be still MDV6. And I had recover 1 and recover and recover 2 are the two files that I recovered. And it'll be interesting to see what they are. Did I, in other words, get the entire program? What I'll do is I'll go into, yeah, so I have recover, then recover 2. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit out of this. And I'm going to copy MDV6, recover to console, and it's empty. Copy MDV6, recover 2, oops, 2. Yep, didn't save it. So don't know why. I've done it before, so I'm not quite sure why I didn't save it. Here from the future, and I did figure it out. Notice when you start off OPDEdit, it talks about drives 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's actually the problem. It only knows about those 4 drives. And so when you go into this program, I was choosing MDV6 so. If I do Control F1 and say, instead of SEER, MDV4, and I'm going to call it actually Minds QL BAS. So, or mine's rec bad. There we go. And so now if I hit F1, you can see it's actually saying dumping block. And it's still hitting the disk because the light's on. It won't let me do the next one, but then I can go to the next one as soon as it finishes. Down, hit F1, and it's dumping block. And I think this is going to start having some junk after it. Yeah, so that was it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is if I hit Control F1, it's going to go and beep because there's no more blocks left for that file, and it's going to get an error. Yep, and so here I'm going to escape out, escape, escape. And so now I should have, if I go mode 4, copy MDV4, mines QL rec bas to con. Oh, it has, oh, it dumped the, it dumped the, so it's not, so I do have it back, but you'd have to do a little bit of work to actually get the text and not the hex, so you can't directly load it from, but you can see it kept dumping these headers. So then, yeah, you could edit it and get it back. I was hoping it actually would do it easier. Interesting, yeah. So I got all the info back, and it's the whole basic program for mines QL, and there were no bad sectors for that. So yeah, I'm not sure if there. I don't think there's a way to just say save the actual text. So anyway, back to the past. So yeah, bad disks and bad micro cartridges kind of. I mean, these failed more than these, but still sort of the same experience and similar tools, because the way these things are actually stored, or the way the information is actually stored in these, uses the same principles as floppies. And the only thing is, instead of concentric circles, it's in a linear format, but still sectors, and you kind of piece them together the same way. Again, the software I showed you on the Windows, it kind of did a lot of this for you. But I'm sure there was old school software for DOS that was very similar to this stuff. Anyway, just wanted to share that with you today. It was kind of interesting, I hope. So I'll end here, and I'll see you next time.